Welcome to the Plumes of Oz, where we look at the Australian birds in the wild. And today we have a bird that is full of character. It is the zebra finch, well known internationally. And today in many countries of the world, the zebra finch has now been bred, adapting well to life in an aviary. And today it brings joy to many people as a pet. Zebra finches live on grass seed. Here the male bird is feeding from the seed head, and now, which is more typical, feeding directly off the ground, in an open area where the seed has been blown by the wind onto the red earth. Here they can move around freely. In Cape York we don't find the zebra finch because the savanna grass is just too dense. They can't walk around at the bottom of it. They have a wide distribution throughout most of Australia, but when one wants to find the large flocks, the ideal place is in the warmer, dry grassland areas of northern Australia. For here the grass, after rain, grows quickly, but then with the dry climate and lack of humidity, it withers quickly, dropping the seed to the ground. Zebra finches belong to the family of estreldids, or grass finches in Australia as we know them. Here are some of the estrelid finches in Australia. Firstly, the crimson finch. Then these finches with double bands, called a double bar finch. Then the beautifully coloured Gouldian finch, the female not so bright. And then the painted finch. He has a longer bill. If only Darwin had studied the Australian finches. With the enormous variety in the genera, he would not have made so many mistakes. Now a black-faced finch with a stubby bill. A beautiful plum colour, the male plumhead finch. When estrelid was first introduced into binomial nomenclature, it applied to the common waxbill, much like our red-brow finch. And lastly, the long-tail finch. Now let us get back to the zebra finch. A staccato effect. Look at the way the zebra markings on the throat move with each call. And the call is a beep meep. There were many birds calling, and it's hard to pick out one specific call from a flock like this. But now let us look at the female, for there is sexual dimorphism, and the female doesn't have the zebra striping over the throat. Zebra finches have a banded tail, and the male has spots. Now the binomial name for the zebra finch is Teniopigia guttata. Tenia, Greek for ribbon, pigia, Greek for rump, then the Latin guttata, for speckled or spotted, and so this bird is described, but the characteristic feature of male and female is the banding, or from the Greek, the tenia of the tail. The male is the only one with the spots on the flanks. The most characteristic feature of male and female, separating them from many small grey birds in the Australian bush, is the dark vertical teardrop below the eye. Zebra finches are flock birds. The flock can vary enormously in size, and sometimes flocks will come together, forming a superflock with maybe up to 1,000 birds. Here you can see flocks flying in and out of this tree. This is a staging point, either to food or water, and in this case it was to water. Flocks depart and flocks arrive. Where there is grass available for food and water for drinking, so the raptors watch, and the finches are a delicacy for the raptors like the brown goshawk. And here you can see a falcon, a hobie, devouring a zebra finch. Here in southwest Queensland you can see small numbers of up to a dozen zebra finches coming in for a drink. They attended frequently, and the raptors were watching. The brown goshawk capitalised on this gathering of the finches. He swooped down, didn't catch a finch, but then landed, and you can see why he missed. Look at the barring on the chest, it is very prominent. This is a young brown goshawk, and at his age he is getting more misses than hits. A lonely male finch practising his song. I always find it amazing how the family of this male zebra finch can recognise his call amidst the many other finches in the flock. And his call is learned off his father and then his father before that. It's unusual to see a solitary zebra finch. Even seeing pairs is unusual. At nesting time it's more likely to see pairs, but as the nests are often very close together, the birds still tend to function as a flock or a small group, together flying from the nests, coming to the ground to feed and drink as a flock. The density of the young birds, when they do go out and forage, is a good indicator of how breeding is going on. There can be enormous variation in the young bird densities. The young birds are easily separated from the adults because of their dark bill. Breeding fluctuates according to the season, so if there's rain, there is grass. And when the grass comes, so the birds breed. Once breeding occurs, the density of young birds goes up in the flock. Here, in the Northern Territory, where the climate is generally warm and the finches have a fairly long extended breeding period, the birds are coming to drink at a borehole. When we look closely, we can see only adult birds. No young birds with black bills. This is a drought period. Breeding is not taking place. In fact, the density of zebra finches in the vicinity around this borehole is few. They have massed here at the borehole because it is 40 degrees and they are desperate for water. Here are a few shots taken around this borehole during the drought. There are no young but super-sized flocks, all desperate for water. Here is a pair sitting on a branch. No young. There is sexual dimorphism in the zebra finch, and here the female is on your right. A few more shots of adults in the drought without young drinking. I just can't resist taking photographs of these birds. They are a special little joyous bird. On the edge of the frame in this shot you can see that there is another finch. It has different markings. This is a plumhead finch, and often the plumheads, zebras and double-barred finches are found at the same vicinity. The drought. Little food. The finches, in fact, fight amongst themselves for the little seed that is available, and indeed they may have to scratch beyond the surface to find it. Numbers are few. Large flocks have disappeared. After 6 years of drought, the rain arrives. And with the rain, the billabongs fill up, the creeks start to run, and then the grass grows. With all this seed available now after the drought, what we want to see is evidence of breeding. And as mentioned, the simplest way to find evidence for this is looking at the colour of the bill of the zebra finch. The immature bird has black on the bill. Beyond the grass, there are many dead trees. This is a direct result of the drought conditions. There it is, the first juvenile after the rain. They are breeding because of all this grass. With an abundance of food and water, as we watch the finches in the grass, the little male zebra begins to do something different. He starts to collect the grass and take it back and give it to the female, who has selected a nesting point, and there the female builds the nest by putting all these pieces of grass together. In good breeding seasons, there can be an eruption in the population of zebra finches, and this happened at the end of 20 and the beginning of 2021. Zebra finches usually lay 4 to 6 eggs in the nest. The female sits on the nest for 2 weeks, and then the hatchlings remain in the nest for a further 3 weeks until fledged. With an abundance of food, it may well be that soon after this, the female will again incubate a further clutch, and 3 to 4 clutches per season may result, and you can see with 4 to 6 birds each time, each pair could have 20 plus chicks per year. In addition, sexual maturity is reached by 3 months, so the children then have their own brood. And with a sudden flush in young birds, this is called an eruptive phase. At the time of doing this recording, this has happened in Western New South Wales and southwest Queensland. Not only with the zebra finches, but also with the other seed eaters, like the quail and the parrots. Just look at the number of young finches amongst this flock perched in this tree above water. The young zebras have darkening on the bill. With breeding, you may notice a change in the behaviour of the zebra finch, preferring with young to drink in a protected area where a branch has fallen over onto the water. They drink on the branches close to the water, and the overhead branches protect them from raptor attack. There is a component of adult training when you watch finches coming to drink. The adults may sit at the top of the brambles in the sun, while the young birds tend to go down to the water. It's a bit like being at a swimming pool. The adults mostly sit around watching the young down at the bottom. They will occasionally have a drink and a bath, but mostly playing in the water at the bottom of the bramble are the young. The adults remain at the top, making the young aware that this is a safer place to drink than open water. The zebra finches are always in loose colonies, but just look at the number of young coming to drink at the edge of this dam. There is a tree just above where they are flying in and out from. The ratio of immature birds to the adults is 2 to 1, suggesting an extremely good breeding season for this flock. Though the female is the nest sitter and nest builder, both adult birds are responsible for getting the chicks to fledglings. And here a male is still caring for a juvenile bird with allopreening. And just as the zebra finches have exploded in numbers with the recent rainfall and abundance of grass seed, so other finches have also increased in populations, and one of these is the plumhead finch, and these two birds often co-inhabit the same areas. The juvenile plumheads can be picked out because of the different markings. On behalf of Plumes of Oz, thank you for watching this video. We hope you've enjoyed it. Comments are appreciated, and if you would like to get notification of the next release of the Australian Birds in the Wild by Plumes of Oz, subscribe to this channel.